Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the Jerich Show with me, Javad Malik, and alongside me, as always, is Eric, the man crone. How you doing, Eric?
I'm doing fantastic. It is 7 o'clock in the morning my time. You're much more awake over there in the UK, but always happy to be here. Always happy to do another episode of The Jerich Show.
Cool. Okay, so let's kick off. There's something that caught your eye this week, and it caused quite a bit of the storm on social media. Let's jump into it.
Yeah, so, this week I found that if I was in the UK, I would have a master's degree. Just kidding. Not really. But the big story, the big hot topic was that one of the UK, groups basically came up and said that the CISSP is equivalent to the master's degree, which obviously set a lot of people's hair on fire. We all know that certifications have been a bit of a hot topic in the industry for a while, and this certainly did not, help the issue at all. Right, lit a few people on fire. Did you see the same thing, Javad?
Oh yes. People were just running around like it was the embodiment of that meme. I don't know if you've seen it. It's like no time to explain. Grab a cactus.
Yeah,
And
yeah, and long have the certifications held a very interesting spot in our community, in the InfoSec community. It's not that, I'll tell you my personal opinion. I don't think certifications are bad. I think sometimes they're misrepresented by people, especially those that hold them, or they're misused by people that don't understand them, e.g., recruiters and people putting up job postings. They have no idea what it means. Oh, this entry level SOC analyst job says security on it. That means we need a CISSP. And I think that's where a lot of this stuff comes into play. This did not help that debate in any way, shape, or form. And I thought that it was interesting. It was the UK, this is your fault, UK Nerich, the government designated agency responsible for providing information and expert guidance on academic blah, 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 blah. And they have a series of levels here. And what they did is they placed it at a level 7, which is the equivalent to master's degree, postgraduate certificate, and diploma. So that's the part that kind of spun everybody up. I mean, I think anyone with a brain can understand that sitting through a boot camp, maybe, doing some self-study for a couple of months, and taking an exam, it's obvious the parallels to a master's degree there, right?
well, yeah. So I think the one thing I looked into the NARIC a bit, and one thing is to understand it's really built as an international equivalency kind of body. So what does it say? For example, if you've done a bachelor's degree, or if you've done a bachelor's degree in, say, Arizona, from and there's a specific type of community college that you've done it from, whatever, and it's called something else, and then you came to the UK and you applied for a spot at university, they want to know whether what you've done is the equivalent of what we do here, like an A-levels, to get you into university. So what the NARIC does is it looks at all of these different education and certifications around the world and say, okay, what would be equivalent to allow you to take the next step? So people aren't jumping over a step. So you don't do like straight from high school, you enter into a doctorate or something like that. So that's kind of like what it's about. And really the benefit for this is only for educators, and in some cases, some employers who say, they need a specific level of education to enter, but that's few and far between. So it's mainly an academic kind of equivalency test that's put out there. It's nothing really beyond that. I think, like, if you ask in the real world what impact this will have, and I think it's negligible. It's like, it doesn't even show up as a blip.
No, and that's interesting. And so I do have to ask, I mean, does this mean me having a CISSP? We both have CISSPs, right?
Yep.
And so me having one, does that mean if I came over to Europe and decided to work, I would actually be able to go into, say, a doctorate program using the CISSP I have, supposedly being a master's? And that's an interesting thing. I mean, I suppose we're going to see that happen at some point in time. Somebody's going to go down that route, or even you, if you just wanted to go sign up, knowing that you have this cert, does that mean you can start with a doctorate program? What do you think? Do you think that's what it's saying?
I think that's a very interesting experiment to try. That would make a great Black Hat talk or a DEF CON talk, I think. Here's how I got my doctorate because I had a CISSP. And I think that would be fantastic.
Yeah, well, you know what? My hopes for this are, honestly, again, that maybe organizations will understand it more just because it's put in that level. Because, I mean, if you think about it, recruiters and HR gatekeepers, they know that not every position needs a master's degree. So now if they have it in their heads, maybe it'll help them align those positions. Like the example I used earlier, we see it all the time where, you figure these recruiters and people, they hire a lot of certain positions, every year. Where we're at, we hire a lot of salespeople, but not as many security people, right? It's just because the ratio of us to other people tends to be a little lower. So they don't really know what they're looking for a lot of times. So what happens is they'll reach out and they'll pull a job description from somewhere else. And then they'll tweak it to kind of meet their own, because this is the first time they've done it in 3 years. And somewhere in there, it says they need a CISSP. And next thing you know, we have these ridiculous, entry-level positions, 2 years experience, and a CISSP, which makes absolutely no sense at all. But this is kind of one of the reasons we get to where we are. By making them understand, I guess, in the hierarchy, just that this is a higher level cert, maybe, if we're lucky, it can have an impact on that. I mean, I'm just hoping that's the case.
Maybe. I mean, I think, yeah, it's going to be useful for some people to understand it. And the security community, they're never really happy with anything. Um, you could get a legit master's from somewhere, and there'll be people saying, well, how does that equate to my 10 years experience? Some people say you need to get an OSCP, others become an ethical hacker, all that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of it depends on what field, what particular part of cybersecurity you're entering into. If you want to be a red team or a pen tester, very different skill set from if you're becoming going into assurance or a consultancy, the whole gambit. So that paints bias. But then a lot of people, like on Twitter, I saw a lot of people saying, I don't care whether you have a master's, whether you have a degree, whether you're educated or not. Can you do the job? Can you learn? Can you get on with it? And I think that's a great attitude. And, that's really all that matters. Unfortunately, that's not how the majority of companies work in the world. You need to have HR or departments and hiring organizations have certain criteria they must meet and fulfill for adequacy, or they need to be transparent in how they've gone about trying to recruit someone, hire them, and on what basis they're giving them the salary and all those kinds of things. So that's why these kind of structures are needed there. The CISSP, I think it's just been a victim of its own success because it is, the most popular cert globally, but they don't help themselves because the whole thing this kicked off was, I think it was just a poorly worded PR press release. It was poorly worded tweet. And, people don't read anything beyond the headline. They just saw CISSP equivalent to masters and, everyone's hair spontaneously combusted.
Yeah, we have a habit of doing that in the community. We definitely do. And we're already curmudgeons. It's part of the job. We see bad in everything because all we see is bad, right? And so I agree completely on that standpoint. It is interesting, you mentioned kind of the gatekeeping that happens even with degrees. And that's the whole reason I went back and I got my bachelor's in networking, right? So I did that because here I had a CISSP, I have my ISSAP concentration. I've been in the industry since early on, mid 1990s is when I started getting into IT and security. So I've done all this stuff, and then I was trying to apply for places like Raytheon. I wanted to work in Raytheon in Arizona because it was right near my house instead of commuting 130 miles a day. But I could never get past the whole, do you have your bachelor's degree? And that was it. That's all. At that point, it just shut me down. Said, nope, thanks. And I thought it was very interesting because a lot of these positions were way junior to the roles that I had already played, but I couldn't even get past that point just because I didn't have the quote unquote bachelor's degree. So maybe if this this is done by a UK and it is recognized across Europe because of that. I don't think it went with Brexit, right? It's still recognized. But if this does filter over to the US at all, maybe it will help bring down some of those barriers for people. I don't know. But it is definitely an interesting thing. And like you said, people exploded. And if nothing else, we got quite a bit of entertainment out of this week. I mean, the discussion, the memes, all that kind of good stuff, absolutely top notch this week. So well done, community, on that side of things.
Yeah. Never change. Keeping us entertained.
Right. So I think that, we don't have a whole lot more time. We're trying to keep these kind of quick and easy, but I think that was an important topic that we took on today with all the ferocity of a good, I don't even know. We're not good at much of anything.
No, we're not.
But we're entertaining.
Timely topics, poorly presented. That's
absolutely,
us.
Yeah. So
thank you for sticking with us. Go on, we're talking over each other now. Just illustrating our point that we are so unprofessional and poorly presenting. But thank you everyone for sticking around with us, and you're welcome for our service in presenting such a timely and topical topic to you. Eric, any last words?
Just stay safe, my friends.
Stay secure, my friends.
Yeah, see, you do that. I'm going for safe.
Wow.
There's a pandemic.
Do you work in in the safety industry? Are you working on an oil rig?
No, you may not have noticed, but there's a global pandemic.
Only because of the 5G.
You'd think they could recharge the pigeons, in shifts, but
I know. It's amateur hour.
Yeah.
I've already volunteered for the vaccine and get myself chipped, and I'll be the end of that.
Yeah. Okay, I'm going to stop recording now.